In 1933, Rabbi Jacob Rudin opened his Rosh Hashanah evening sermon at Temple Beth El of Great Neck, and he shared these words. Seldom in our long history has the sun of a new year risen upon so dark and mournful a horizon. Seldom have the Jewish people come together in their synagogues to celebrate the coming of a new year with hearts so charged with tragedy over the events of a year just closed, and with such bitter foreboding of what the new year will bring. The wheel of time has made but a single turning, but in that turning it has shaken the Jewish world to its very foundations. Even the most far-sighted of our leaders, even the most pessimistic among the bearers of evil tidings of a year ago, did not dream of such a cataclysm as has befallen us. But the sternest warnings were not stern enough, and the loudest cries not loud enough. Rabbi Rudin shared these words to his Long Island congregation as Adolf Hitler became chancellor, and the Nazi Party secured its complete control over the economy, law, and cultural life. There are many, not all, but there are many in our community who have similar feelings of angst, feelings of sadness, despair, anger, and hopelessness. The more I ask people, how are you? The more I encounter people who genuinely feel wounded by what's happening in our world, particularly issues confronting us in this country, our feelings about the conflict, about the war in Israel and Gaza. And then there is this anti-Semitism that has renewed itself the way we haven't seen in decades. The weaponization of anti-Semitism and our increased feelings of vulnerability. We'll be talking about these things during our holy days, but I share it now because I sense a feeling of dread among us that I haven't encountered before in my lifetime. I was not a witness to the Shoah, to the Holocaust. I never lived in this world without a state of Israel. I don't have memories of McCarthyism except from books. I am a white, cisgender man who grew up without disability in a lower middle class family on Long Island, which was once kind of a Jewish Mecca, and who's had a fair amount of privilege during my life. And I share this because I've not encountered fear or hopelessness too often the way some already have. How do we deal with the really very real feelings that we have to confront on this Rosh Hashanah? This rabbi gig makes me turn to our ancestral wisdom, to our textual sources, and try to hear God's voice through them. In Psalm 30, we read, "Out of the depths I call you, O Eternal One." The psalm continues, "O my sovereign, listen to my cry. Let your ears be attentive to my plea for mercy." The writer of the Psalms, just like his contemporaries and like us, experienced life's very real hardships. It's life quakes, those profound disruptions that shake our foundations. But there is a refrain in Jewish tradition after this crying out from our sources. In Psalm 27, it says, "One thing I ask of God, only this do I seek, to live in God's house all the days of my life, to gaze upon God's beauty, to frequent the temple." Calling out with pain, just like our ancestors who experienced Egyptian slavery and waiting to be comforted is a primal human experience. And our prophets witnessed similar challenges and created hope-filled messages after the Israelites entered the land of Israel and built a kingdom there, which was maybe around 1250 before the Common Era. They were attacked and they were exiled in the year 586 before the Common Era. We see the trauma of our exiled ancestors in texts, like in Psalm 137, a text many of us are familiar with because of songs from the 1970s with the name in this first verse. It says, "By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat and wept as we thought of Zion. There on the poplars we hung up our lyres, for our captors asked us there for songs, our tormentors for amusement, saying, 'Sing us one of those songs of Zion.' How can we sing a song of God on alien soil?" Those Babylonians that they're referring to, they're teasing us. They're bullying, sort of like saying, "Sing one of those Jew songs you sing." And the people, those Israelites, they're devastated. And they can't do it. We meet our prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel is a Kohen, a priest, a leader in ancient Israel, and he was a survivor of the exile. And he witnessed it and was exiled along with the rest of the Jewish leadership of the time. One of his most famous prophecies is his description of a valley of dry bones to symbolize the profound despair of the exiled Israelites. God brings bones back to life, breathing new life into them. The vision in the book of Ezekiel is one of the most vivid images of national rebirth and resurrection. Resurrection, yes, we have resurrection too, in Jewish texts. But more than that, it has become a foundational text for hope. Hope. So, since I've mentioned it, and some of you are looking a little confused, classic Jewish texts do address the idea of resurrection, but not the resurrection of one person, not a Messiah and not a Savior. It's the resurrection of an entire people. When, in Jewish tradition, the Messiah comes, if we believe in that literal sense, when the Messiah comes, then everybody who has died will be brought back to life, and we all live in Jerusalem, which I'd be kind of excited about. Jerusalem makes Boulder look cheap and affordable. Some of us believe in this message of resurrection literally, others metaphorically. Either way, think about it. It's a message of hope. Hope that we will be reunited with our loved ones again, and all of life will be renewed. I know what some of you are thinking. I don't necessarily want to see them again, but that's okay. There'll be a way. Even our stories are filled with hope. A rabbi was asked by a student, "How can we have hope when the world seems so dark?" The rabbi took the student to her garden in winter where everything appeared dead. She dug into the frozen earth and showed the student seeds buried there. "These seeds carry within them the hope of spring," she said. "Even in the darkest of times, the potential for a renewal lies waiting. That is why we blow the shofar, to awaken the seeds of hope within ourselves." Our modern-day thought leaders also focus on this principle of hope. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, a German Jewish refugee brought to this country, saw beyond the physical mission of Israel as refuge, and instead saw its spiritual significance as the embodiment of hope and the origin for national Jewish renewal. This is what Heschel said: hope is our power. It is a vital quality, always at work within a person, anticipating freedom from misery. Hope is not cheerfulness, a temperamental confidence that all will turn out for the best. It is not an inclination to be guided by illusions rather than facts. Hope is a conviction rooted in trust. Trust in God who issued the promise, an ability to soar above the darkness and that overshadows the divine. The spiritual symbolism of Israel gives us the strength to hope. And with that strength, we can change the world. And I don't say that lightly. I believe that with all of my being. To teach how to hope, how to hang on to it, how to activate it, that is the primary function of these holy days, so that we change the world. Our ancestors experienced their own traumas, and they cried out. Our prophets gave us the language to hope. Our scholars taught us that hope is a conviction. Our contemporary rabbis continue to lift it up. Rabbi B'nai Lappi, an award-winning educator specializing in the application of queer theory to Talmud study, founded something called Svara, a radical traditional yeshiva. And she teaches hope is not passive waiting. It is the active choice to participate in repair, even when the outcome is uncertain. Some of us have to struggle with that because we want to know the outcomes. We want to know that our efforts are actually going to make a difference. But my hope has no guarantees that it's going to make a difference, but it's Jewish. We have to do it anyway, even when the outcome is uncertain. Another leading rabbi today, Sharon Brous of Ikar, the founder of Ikar in Los Angeles, she says hope is not naive optimism. Hope is the conviction that meaning can be made, that light can be found, even in the darkest of places. You know, it's from the rabbis who taught us that we see all the light from the darkest part of our eyes. So what happens if we have no hope? If we've lost our hope? That is where darkness can prevail. That is when we can become paralyzed with fear, morally injured by what we witness, unable to act because we're too traumatized. During our family service tomorrow, I'm going to be sharing a story with our families with young children about Lamed Vavniks. Lamed Vavniks. The letter Lamed represents, it's the numerical equivalent for 30. Vav is 6. 30 plus 6? Thank God, somebody said it. 36. Okay, wake up, folks. I know it's a long night. You have the short service. It's the next folks that have the longer service. 36. Lamed Vav is 36. The legend of the Lamed Vavniks is that at any time there are 36 completely righteous people in the world whose goodness sustains all of humanity. These individuals, though, are hidden. We don't know who they are, and they don't know who they are. And it could be anyone. And of course, our Jewish lore, New York, our lore, The Lord will often pick, the shoemaker and the baker, somebody who doesn't have a lot of money. We can add maybe even a lawyer. They don't know who they are among the 36. And if one of the 36 dies, another one is going to take their place. There's sweet stories about these Lamed Vavnikim, but the story teaches each and every one of them that even in the darkest of times, when the world seems overwhelmed by cruelty and suffering, these hidden saints carry the hope of all humanity. Their simple acts of kindness, their quiet compassion, their everyday decency, these are what keep the world from falling into despair. And what makes the stories, all of them, so hopeful is its radical democracy of goodness. I'm really happy with those 3 words. Radical democracy of goodness. It suggests that you or I, or the person sitting next to us, might be one of those pillars holding up the world. It means that hope doesn't depend on grand gestures or famous heroes, but on ordinary people like you and me, choosing to be good. So I have hope. I have hope today because of my faith. I have hope because of the power of Jewish ideas and how, if we let them, they can transform us. They can give us strength. I hope because you're here tonight with me, here in this sanctuary or online. And I hope because those who are younger than me are feeling at a loss. And they're worried about their futures. And so I don't have the luxury not to hope. And I refuse to have my hope taken away by other people. I have hope because while I doubt I am a Lamed Vavnik, I believe with all my being that ordinary people, the majority of us, ordinary people choosing to be and do good, can change the world.